Beginning the assignment. The first time Lieutenant Coren Vance saw her, she was standing in the middle of a smoking crater, barefoot, blood-streaked, and perfectly still. Around her lay the remains of a pirate ambush, their bodies twisted and charred from something not quite human. The report said she was the last survivor of the Deathworld colonies, an experimental settlement on a planet so hostile that even its rain was acidic and its plants hunted in packs. Coren hadn't believed it until he met her eyes. Her name was Raiya Teth, and she didn't flinch when the soldiers pointed their rifles at her. She just studied them the way a scientist might study insects, curious, detached, quietly amused. The Admiral's order had been simple: bring her in alive. The Deathworld project might not be lost after all. Alive. Coren had done escort missions before, but this was different. The woman wasn't a refugee. She was a living weapon. When they finally cuffed her with reinforced grave restraints, she said in a calm, melodic voice, "You can take these off whenever you realize they won't help you." That was his first warning. Middle, the mission. They took her aboard the UNS Horizon, bound for the central research world of Tessera Prime. Coren's job was to keep her under observation, a simple enough order, except Raiya refused to behave like a prisoner. She sat in the ship's observation lounge instead of her quarters, barefoot again, staring out at the swirling nebula beyond the viewport. When he reminded her that she wasn't allowed there, she turned her head slightly and said, "If I were dangerous, Lieutenant, you wouldn't still be breathing." He didn't reply, but his hand drifted toward his holster. Her eyes followed the movement. Still trying to understand fear, she murmured, almost fondly, "Humans wear it like perfume." Over the following days, Coren watched her closely. She ate little, slept less, and occasionally muttered to herself in a language the ship's translators couldn't process. Once, the lights in the containment sector flickered, every system failing for 3.2 seconds, and the security logs showed her standing, eyes glowing faintly gold, whispering something to the power conduits. When he confronted her about it, she simply smiled. "Your ship talks too much," she said. "I was telling it to rest." The Horizon wasn't supposed to have a voice. The crew avoided her after that. Engineers swore they heard whispers through the walls. A few soldiers requested transfers, claiming they dreamed of storms and teeth. Coren kept his composure, but even he couldn't deny that wherever Raiya went, the air felt heavier, like gravity itself bent toward her. And yet, there were moments when she seemed almost human. One night, Coren caught her sitting quietly in the mess hall, tracing her finger along a holographic flame. "On my world," she said without looking up, "fire was alive. It sang before it killed." Coren frowned. "You're saying your world ate us," she finished softly. "And we learned to eat back." She finally looked at him then, and he understood. Her smile wasn't arrogance. It was survival. Middle, the mutiny. On the 5th day, the pirates came. A distress beacon from a derelict mining station had drawn them in. By the time the Horizon realized it was a trap, 3 ships dropped out of FTL with weapons hot. The captain barked orders. Defense turrets roared to life. Coren was in the brig with Raiya when the alarms began. "Pirates," he muttered, checking his sidearm. Raiya tilted her head. "The hungry kind." "Stay here," he ordered, unlocking his rifle. She smiled faintly. "I don't take orders from prey." He barely registered what she said before the first explosion tore through the corridor. The ship shuddered violently. The emergency lights flickered to crimson. Coren steadied himself and realized Raiya was no longer in her chair. When the smoke cleared, her restraints lay open on the floor. "Security breach in cell block D," the comms blared. "Containment compromised." He ran. He found her near the central junction, standing amid the bodies of 3 pirates. She hadn't used a weapon. One man's armor was crushed inward, like the vacuum itself had folded him. Another was frozen solid, rimed in frost from the inside out. Coren raised his rifle automatically. "Don't move," he barked. Raiya turned slowly, gold light blooming in her eyes. Her skin shimmered with faint luminescence, veins pulsing with an alien glow. "I told you these chains wouldn't hold me," she said softly. "Whatever you are." "I'm what you made me," she interrupted. "Your kind seeded my world with human DNA. You wanted to see what would survive." Her voice dropped lower. "We did." Before he could react, another blast rocked the ship. This time, the pirates breached the hangar bay. Coren staggered but kept his weapon trained on her. "You're coming with me," he said. Raiya tilted her head again. "Why?" "To die like the others." "Because I gave my word." Something flickered across her face, surprise, maybe even respect. "Then aim true, soldier," she said, stepping closer, unafraid. The confrontation, he aimed his gun. They were alone in the corridor when it happened. Smoke filled the air, alarms wailed, and through the flickering lights, she looked almost divine, alien, dangerous, yet heartbreakingly alive. Coren's pulse pounded. He'd seen soldiers panic before, seen veterans break, but Raiya, she didn't blink. He raised his weapon, slow, deliberate, steady. "Stop," he said again, though his voice shook. Her expression softened, almost pitying. "You're trembling, Lieutenant." "Why?" "Because I don't want to shoot you." "Then why point your weapon?" "Because I don't know what you'll do next." Raiya stepped forward until the barrel of his gun rested against her chest. "Then you'll have to decide," she whispered. "Pull the trigger, or trust me." For a long, breathless second, the ship was silent except for the hum of dying systems. Then Coren lowered the gun. "Fine," he said. "Help me save this ship." Raiya's smile returned, not mocking this time, but fierce. "Now you're speaking my language." Climax, the storm within. The battle that followed was chaos incarnate. Pirates poured through the breach, cutting down soldiers in waves. The Horizon's main reactor was failing, its shields were gone. Coren and Raiya moved together through the smoke-filled corridors. He fired with precision, she moved like living lightning, claws forming from energy, her hair lifting in an invisible storm. Where she passed, metal warped, doors melted, and enemies simply stopped moving. The pirates had come for loot. They found extinction instead. At one point, a plasma grenade detonated near the medbay. Coren shielded Raiya instinctively, only to realize she didn't need protection. The blast curled around her like wind avoiding a mountain. "Your instincts betray you," she said quietly. "You protect what you don't understand." "Call it human habit," he grunted, reloading. When they reached the hangar, they found the pirate commander, a towering brute in battle armor, dragging the captain of the Horizon by the throat. "Drop your weapons," the pirate snarled. Coren aimed his rifle. "You first." The pirate laughed until Raiya stepped forward. Her eyes ignited. "You hurt my pack," she said. The temperature dropped 20 degrees. The deck trembled. Coren barely had time to dive aside as a wave of golden energy erupted from her body, slamming into the pirate and his men. When the light faded, nothing remained but ash and warped metal.